What if I told you that your income isn't stuck because of the economy, your boss, or your background, but because of you? That might sound uncomfortable, but it's also incredibly empowering. Jim Rohn once said, "Your income rarely exceeds your personal development." Think about that. If you grow, your income grows. If you don't, it won't, no matter how hard you hustle. In this speech, you'll discover why real wealth starts on the inside, not in your bank account. Stay with me till the end, because the final lesson might completely change how you see success. Lesson 1. Income is a reflection, not a reward. We must begin by dismantling one of the most pervasive myths in our culture, the idea that income is a result of effort alone. It is a harsh truth to swallow, but the marketplace does not care how hard you work. It does not care about your fatigue, your sacrifices, or the hours you log away from your family. The marketplace only cares about value. You can dig a hole for 10 hours and fill it back up for another 10 hours. You have worked incredibly hard, you are exhausted, and you have exerted massive effort, but you have created zero value. Therefore, the marketplace will pay you nothing. This is the distinction between movement and achievement. Many people are moving, spinning their wheels and exhausting themselves, hoping that the universe will reward their sweat. But the universe and the economy operates on the law of exchange. You must give something of value to receive a unit of currency in return. Income is a reflection. It is a mirror held up to your contribution. If you look at your bank account and you do not like what you see, you are looking at a reflection of the value you have brought to the market in recent times. You cannot change the reflection by yelling at the mirror. You can only change the reflection by changing the object being reflected, which is you. This removes the concept of unfairness from the economic equation. If someone earns 10 times more than you, it is not necessarily because they work 10 times harder. It is physically impossible to work 10 times harder than a person who works 8 hours a day. You cannot work 80 hours in a 24-hour day. The difference is that they have found a way to become 10 times more valuable in the same hour. They have leveraged skills, judgment, or capital to produce a result that is 10 times more useful to the consumer. To understand this is to be liberated. As long as you believe income is a reward for being a good person or a hard worker, you will feel like a victim when the money doesn't come. You will say, "I am a good employee, why am I not rich?" But once you understand that income is a reflection of value, you gain control. You realize that to change the income, you simply need to increase the value. You must bring more to the table. This shifts your focus from "what can I get" to "what can I give." The amount of money you are paid is usually in direct proportion to the difficulty of the problems you solve. If you solve minimum wage problems that anyone with basic mobility can solve, you will receive minimum wage. If you solve million-dollar problems requiring rare insight, high risk, and specialized skill, you will be paid accordingly. This perspective also humbles us. It forces us to ask, how useful am I really? If you disappeared from your organization tomorrow, how difficult would it be to replace you? If the answer is it would be easy, then your value is low and your income will reflect that. If the answer is it would be nearly impossible because of my unique combination of skills and judgment, then your value is high. The goal then is to make yourself indispensable. It is to cultivate a level of utility that makes the marketplace eager to pay you. You do not get paid for your time. You get paid for the value you bring to the hour. A lawyer and a janitor both give an hour, but the value brought to that hour differs in the eyes of the marketplace. This is not a judgment of human worth, it is an assessment of economic utility. Ultimately, treating income as a reflection puts the power back in your hands. It means you are not at the mercy of a boss or an economy. If the economy dips, the valuable person is still needed. If a boss refuses to pay, the valuable person can take their skills elsewhere to a bidder who recognizes that reflection. You stop waiting for a raise and start working on the person in the mirror. You realize that the only way to permanently increase your income is to permanently increase your capability. When your internal value grows, when your leadership, your efficiency, and your creativity expand, your external income has no choice but to catch up. It is a law of nature. Water seeks its own level and income seeks the level of your value. Lesson 2. Work harder on yourself than on your job. Jim Rohn dropped a philosophy that changed the trajectory of lives when he said, Work hard on your job and you can make a living. Work hard on yourself and you can make a fortune. Most people are focused entirely on the job. They want to get the task done, get the paycheck and go home to distract themselves. They see the job as the source of their security, but the job is external. The job can be taken away. The company can fold. The industry can become obsolete. If your security is tied to the job, you are building a house on sand. However, if you work on yourself, you carry your security with you. You become a portable asset. Working on yourself means you are increasing your capacity to handle life, business, and challenges. What does it mean to work on yourself? It means engaging in a rigorous program of self-development that encompasses your mind, your body, and your spirit. It is the invisible work that produces visible results. It means reading the books that others ignore. It means taking the courses that others say they don't have time for. It is the discipline of analyzing your own day, reviewing your mistakes, and refining your philosophy. When you work on your job, you are trading time for money. When you work on yourself, you are investing time to create a multiplier effect on all future time. An hour spent learning a new language, mastering a software, or understanding negotiation tactics will pay dividends every single time you use that skill for the rest of your life. Consider the concept of attracting success. Success is something you attract by the person you become. If you chase success, if you chase money, it is like chasing butterflies. It is elusive, but if you build a beautiful garden, the butterflies come to you. Working on yourself is the act of building that garden. It is becoming the type of person who is disciplined, the type of person who is insightful, the type of person who is pleasant to be around. When you become a person of substance, opportunities seek you out. Headhunters call you, partners want to work with you, investors want to back you. Why? Because you have worked on the asset that matters most, your character and your competence. The tragedy of the modern worker is that they stop learning the moment they leave school. They believe their education is finished, but in the school of success, graduation never comes. The moment you stop working on yourself is the moment you begin to decay. The marketplace is evolving rapidly. Technology changes, consumer behaviors shift, and industries are disrupted. If you are not working on yourself daily, you are falling behind. Working on yourself is the only insurance policy against obsolescence. It allows you to pivot. If you have worked hard on your communication, your leadership, and your emotional intelligence, it does not matter if AI takes over the technical aspect of your job. You are still valuable because you possess the human elements that machines cannot replicate. This lesson requires a shift in priority. It means turning off the television and opening a book. It means waking up an hour early to exercise or meditate. It implies that your personal growth is more important than your entertainment. It is a commitment to the long game. Working on your job pays you today. Working on yourself pays you for a lifetime. The fortune Rohn speaks of is not just monetary, it is a fortune of choices, of freedom, and of satisfaction. When you know that you are growing, that you are more capable today than you were yesterday, you possess a confidence that no fluctuating economy can take away from you. Lesson 3. Skills pay the bills. We live in a skills-based economy. Good intentions do not pay the rent. Being a nice person does not cover the mortgage. What pays the bills and what builds wealth is the possession and execution of specific transferable skills. If you want to increase your income, you must stop wishing for luck and start acquiring tools. Think of your career as a toolbox. If the only tool you have is a hammer, you can only do one job. But if you add a saw, a drill, a level, and a blueprint, suddenly you can build a cathedral. The more skills you acquire, the more valuable you become because you can solve a wider array of complex problems. There is a hierarchy of skills. At the bottom there are labor skills, moving things, cleaning things, basic inputs. These are necessary, but because they are common, they are not highly paid. Moving up, you have technical skills, coding, accounting, specialized machinery operation. These pay better because they require training. But at the very top you have the skills of influence, communication, leadership, public speaking, sales, and strategy. These are the skills that compound all other skills. You can be the best coder in the world, but if you cannot communicate the value of your code to a client, your income is capped. If you learn the skill of communication, you unlock the full value of your technical ability. This is why Jim Rohn emphasized communication so heavily. One well-placed speech, one effectively written letter, one closed sale can change your life. You must also understand the concept of skill stacking. Rarely does a single skill make you rich. It is the unique combination of skills that creates a monopoly of one. If you are just a writer, you are a commodity. But if you are a writer who understands finance and also understands public speaking, you are now a financial educator with a rare profile. You have combined 3 skills to create a niche where you have no competition. The goal is to stack skills that complement each other. Learn psychology to understand your customers. Learn finance to understand your business. Learn productivity to manage your time. Each new skill you add does not just add to your value, it multiplies it. We must also address the method of acquisition. You cannot acquire skills by osmosis. You must study, practice, and fail. You must be willing to be bad at something before you can be good at it. Many people stay poor because they are too proud to be a beginner. They don't want to look foolish learning a new software or fumbling through a sales call, but the fool who persists becomes the master. You must adopt the mindset of a craftsman. A craftsman respects his tools, he sharpens them, he keeps them ready. Your skills are your tools. Are they sharp, or are they dull and outdated? Are you using the skills of 1990 to try and win in the economy of the 2020s? Finally, realize that skills are the only thing you truly own. You can lose your house, your car, and your bank balance. But if you have the skill of sales, you can go out tomorrow and generate revenue. If you have the skill of leadership, you can assemble a new team. If you have the skill of investing, you can rebuild your fortune. Skills are your survival kit. When you stop asking, how can I get a raise, and start asking, what new skill can I learn this month, you take command of your economic destiny. The marketplace is always looking for the skilled. It is always searching for the competent. Be the person who says, I know how to do that, and your income will take care of itself. Lesson 4. Your philosophy determines your paycheck. Everything you do is preceded by a thought. Every action you take is filtered through a belief system. This belief system is your philosophy. Jim Rohn taught that the major difference between the successful and the unsuccessful is not their ability but their philosophy. It is the set of the sail. The same wind blows on us all. The wind of disaster, the wind of opportunity, the wind of change. The wind blows on the rich and the poor alike. But why do some arrive at a destination of wealth and happiness while others arrive on the rocks of financial ruin? It is not the blowing of the wind, it is the set of the sail. Your philosophy is how you set your sail. Your philosophy regarding money is critical. Do you view money as the root of all evil, or as a tool for good? If you subconsciously believe money is bad, you will sabotage yourself every time you get close to it. Your philosophy regarding failure is equally important. Do you view failure as a tombstone or a stepping stone? If your philosophy says failure proves I am not good enough, you will quit. If your philosophy says failure is data that helps me improve, you will persist. These internal narratives run the show. You cannot outperform your own self-image. You cannot earn more than your philosophy allows you to believe you are worth. Consider the philosophy of the ant. Ron often used this analogy. Ants have a 4-part philosophy. First, they never quit. If you block their path, they look for another way. Up, down, around, they keep looking. Second, they think winter all summer. They do not get tricked by the warm weather. They are gathering food and preparing for the cold. Third, they think summer all winter. During the darkest, coldest days, they remind themselves that this won't last forever, summer is coming. And fourth, they gather all they possibly can. Not enough, but all they can. This simple philosophy, persistence, foresight, optimism, and maximum effort guarantees their survival. Humans often lack this. We quit. We spend everything we earn in the summer of a good economy and are left starving in the winter of a recession. Your philosophy acts as a filter for your decisions. When you are faced with the choice to buy a consumer liability or an investment asset, your philosophy makes the choice. When you are tired and have the choice to read 10 pages of a book or watch a sitcom, your philosophy makes the choice. Over a period of 10 years, the accumulation of these philosophy-driven choices results in either a fortune or a tragedy. The man who is broke at 65 didn't get there in a day. He got there by daily errors in judgment stemming from a flawed philosophy. He believed that tomorrow will take care of itself. It didn't. The good news is that you can amend your philosophy, you can rewrite the code, you can adopt the beliefs of successful people, you can choose to believe that you are the architect of your destiny, you can choose to believe that discipline weighs ounces and regret weighs tons. When you correct your philosophy, your behaviors change automatically. You don't have to force yourself to save money if your philosophy is "I am building an empire." You don't have to force yourself to work hard if your philosophy is "I am a person of excellence." Fix the philosophy, and the paycheck follows. The external result is always a manifestation of the internal premise. Lesson 5. Growth is a daily decision. We live in a world that is obsessed with the quantum leap. We want the lottery win, the viral video, the sudden promotion, the 30-day transformation. We want success to arrive like an explosion, but true success, the kind that lasts and builds fortunes, is not an explosion. It is an accumulation. It is the result of the compound effect. Growth is not a singular event. It is a daily decision. It is the quiet, unglamorous work done in the dark that eventually shines in the light. You do not go to the gym for 9 hours once and get in shape. You go for 30 minutes every day for years. The same applies to your income and your mind. This lesson is about the power of the slight edge. It is the understanding that small, simple disciplines repeated consistently over time create massive results. Reading 10 pages of a good book today will not make you rich. You won't even feel smarter. But reading 10 pages every day for a year means you have read a dozen books. Reading 10 pages a day for 10 years means you have the equivalent of a PhD in your chosen field. The difference between the person who reads and the person who doesn't is invisible in the short term, but over 10 years the difference is an unbridgeable chasm of income, lifestyle, and perspective. The danger lies in the fact that every day matters, but no single day looks like it matters. If you eat a cheeseburger today, you don't have a heart attack. If you skip your study session today, you don't get fired. Because the negative consequences are delayed, we are tricked into thinking they don't exist. We drift. But the drift is dangerous. Failure is rarely a cataclysmic event. It is usually a few errors in judgment repeated every day. Conversely, success is just a few simple disciplines practiced every day. The difficult part is that the things that are easy to do are also easy not to do. It is easy to read the book, but it is also easy not to. It is easy to make the extra call, but it is easy not to. To embrace this lesson, you must fall in love with the process, not just the outcome. You must find satisfaction in the daily checkmark. Did I grow today? Did I learn one new thing? Did I refine one skill? If the answer is yes, then you are on the path. You must trust the process of incubation. You plant the seed, and for a long time you see nothing. No sprout, no leaf. But under the soil a root system is forming. If you dig it up every day to check, you kill it. You must have the faith to water the soil of your potential every single day, knowing that the harvest is inevitable if you do not give up. Ultimately, growth is a mandate. In nature, things are either growing or dying. There is no plateau. If your income is flat, it is actually shrinking due to inflation. If your skills are stagnant, they are atrophying relative to the market. You must decide every morning to choose growth. This decision protects you from the entropy of life. It keeps you sharp, hungry, and vital. When you commit to daily growth, you become a force of nature. Your income rises not because you chased it, but because you grew into the person who naturally commands it. The height of your income will always match the height of your personal development, built brick by brick, day by day. Your income will not magically change, but you can. And when you do, everything else follows. Don't chase money, chase growth. Because when you grow into a better thinker, a better learner, and a better leader, income becomes a byproduct, not a struggle. Remember Jim Rohn's timeless truth: your income grows when you do. Keep growing, stay committed, and watch your life transform.